Turning now to the war in Gaza, Hamas is delaying the release of hostages, saying Israel violated the ceasefire. Also today, the president said Palestinians won't have the right to return to Gaza under his plan of U.S. ownership. And Ian Hurd, a political science professor at Northwestern, is joining me live. And professor, within the last hour, President Trump said if all the hostages aren't released come Saturday, the ceasefire deal should be canceled. It is tense. Tell us about these allegations of the violations, how serious they are, and what you expect to see happen.
Sure. Well, let's remember that this ceasefire idea was that Hamas would return the hostages, and in exchange, Israel would release Palestinian prisoners and stop attacking Gaza. The idea was that the Palestinians could then return to Gaza and try to rebuild what had been destroyed in the war. But now Donald Trump comes along and kind of stirs things up and says that, in fact, the plan is to not allow people to return to Gaza, and they want to force the remaining folks out and send them to some other place. So I think what's happening is that Hamas is feeling that they've been tricked here into releasing hostages in exchange for peace, when in fact it seems Israel and Trump are saying that the plan is to remove all Palestinians from Gaza and just take the land over.
So does that seem to you to be the colossal complicator here, and it's not these allegations of renewed gunfire and not enough aid getting in to the Palestinians and into Gaza? Is this just a subterfuge as you see it then?
Yeah, I think the big issue is what happens after the shooting is over. Hopefully the shooting will end right away. So are people allowed to go back to their homes and try to rebuild? Or does Israel or the US or somebody else try to take control of this land? So the idea, I think, of the ceasefire was that Palestinians could go back. But now the way that Trump is interfering, he seems to be saying that the US should take over and that there should be an ethnic cleansing to force all the Palestinians out and bring in other people. Crazy stuff, but making lives worse in the end for the people who live there, making it impossible to imagine a peace where people can just go back to their lives. So it's all been turned upside down because Trump has this idea that the US should be taking over territory in other parts of the world.
Well, that's not something that's going to really be resolved by Saturday, or do you see a scenario where it could be resolved and some new agreement is forged?
I think the agreement's going to have to take some measure of the fact that there's just regular people living there, just Palestinian people living in Gaza, doing their laundry, going to school, trying to get jobs. These are just regular people trying to live their lives. And the war has come in upon them without their asking for it for the most part, because Hamas wasn't really representing the people in a majority way, and the outside government of Israel is interfering, the Americans are interfering. So I think what we need is some accommodation for the fact that these are just people who want to get on with living their lives, but these outside forces, extremists on all sides, including Americans, are making things impossible for that kind of regular civil society to proceed. So that's really what everyone's hoping for, I think, is a capacity for people to imagine a normal life there.
And a normal life, you know, for 2 million people when their homeland has been decimated, and other countries in the area there said we don't have the capability to take them. Where would you see a scenario where those Palestinians who are affected by this warfare would go?
Yeah, let's remember that what they're talking about here, the Americans, is ethnic cleansing, right? It's like forced removal of a huge population. It's the sort of thing that we kind of thought maybe was hopefully over after the 20th century of those grand atrocities that killed so many millions of people. So it's really out of bounds to imagine an American plan or an Israeli plan to clear people out of their land and install others. That's the kind of thing that Americans hanged German leaders for doing in the Holocaust after World War II in the Nuremberg tribunals. That's pretty serious level atrocity. So planning for that kind of project seems to me to be really out of touch with humanity. That said, who knows? You know, we've got extremists here on all sides driving things, and let's hope that that more majoritarian views prevail, right? That people start reflecting the interests of regular folks.
We'll see where all this goes with the clock ticking now towards Saturday when it resets. Professor Ian Hurd at Northwestern, thanks very much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.